All right. We'll call this meeting to order. It's the Dune City Council regular scheduled meeting, July 1st, 2026 at 6:02 p.m. Roll call wise, Rich Olson told us he wouldn't be here tonight with the 4th of July festivities. He's overbooked. Everyone else is accounted for. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 4 is consideration of the agenda. We don't have any last minute changes or additions from staff. Does anybody have anything they wanted to delete or add or modify? Nope. Anything, Larry? Nope. Thank you. Susan?
Good.
Melissa?
Good, thank you.
Good. All right. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda then?
So moved.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Chris. All those in favor? I believe that's unanimous. Item 5 is announcements and correspondence. Is there anything you had? I suppose our big announcement is Saturday's 4th of July, and the city is hosting the watermelon eating contest and pie eating contest at Port of Siuslaw. Sign-ups at 11, eating at 12, cleanup at 12:15. We have medals for our winners. Seeing nothing else, I'll go to item 6, citizens input. I have a card from Deb Williams.
That's me.
Go ahead.
Would you like me to stand or may I sit?
You're okay right there.
Okay. Well, my name is Deb Williams and I live off Clear Lake Road on Davis Way. And my concerns that I had met with James about, and he suggested I come to the council to let you know my concerns as well. We have South Coast Water as our water supplier. So right after the hot day that we had a couple of weeks ago, South Coast Water started sending out notices that the reservoirs were not filling. Please do not do any irrigation or any unnecessary watering. And we got notices for, I've forgotten, 5 or 6 days in a row. So my concerns are that, okay, so if they're running out of water, I have to say I've lived here for 11 years and it seems to happen every summer. So I'm thinking, do they need to add additional reservoirs? Do they need to have additional pumps in Woahink Lake to pump it up? I don't know what the answer is, but I feel like there should be something proactively done so we don't continue to have this issue every year. It's unnerving when you get up in the morning and you turn on your faucet and there's no water.
Yeah.
So I know when Thomas Putnam had taken over the water for South Coast, we had a meeting here, and so we were able to discuss it and, hopefully move forward and make some plans. Well, of course now Putnam has turned it over to Sunstone Water, and I know that they're planning on having rate increases as of November of 2026. And so I just have concerns about the water in our area. I know that not everybody has South Coast Water. I know that some have wells, and I think there's other systems, but I don't know what they are. So respectfully, I would like to see the council try to set up a meeting with Sunstone, which is under, I think, Northwest Water.
Yes. Yeah, the ownership of the names changed twice.
I know.
Yeah.
Anyway, to have a meeting so that we could discuss what are the plans moving forward to resolve this ongoing issue.
They just put in 2 new tanks here a few years ago.
I think they did, and I think it depends on where you're connected. It's a community system, but it's not owned, Dune City has nothing to do with it. So
I'm sorry, I don't hear well.
it's a community water system, but it's not the city's water system, it's their water system. So we don't know any of the details other than there was 2 reservoirs, there was storage added. But we can reach out to them. We had a meeting a couple of weeks ago with them, and James did because I forgot about the meeting. But it was on something totally unrelated, so we can reach out to them and if it's
Yeah,
another
I
community
think
meeting.
that, and I had asked James if there was a way to contact people that are on the South Coast system. But of course, they're not comfortable in releasing that information. So James tonight had suggested maybe a poster in the post office because I've talked to individual people, but I think there's over 90 households that are on South Coast water. And if they add new buildings, new houses, that's going to make even more of a shortage. So I just want to know what their plans are moving forward. They have to come up with something.
Do they not have a way for residents on their system to reach out to them? You know, a phone number or something?
I'm sure they do, but I have no idea what the specifics are. I'm not connected to South Coast water system, so I don't know.
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, but we do know the guy who's in charge now, and so anyway, we can, I'll have James get in touch with him.
Does Sunstone, are they the ones that sent you the letter about water use, or was it?
I'm really sorry, I
Who
can't hear.
sent you the letter about water use?
Who sent the letter?
Yes.
Well, I've gotten several so far. You know, in fact, I had sent them a letter asking them, they had sent out information in February, a letter, and talking about, you know, what the rates going up and, you know, what have you. And I requested, I sent them an email and requested that they set up a meeting in this community to discuss water. But of course, nobody ever responded, so anyway. But Sunstone Water LLC, 250 Taylor Street in Portland.
Are they the ones that asked you to cut down your water use?
Well, it came through Northwest Water,
I see.
you know, but it's all affiliated with South Coast. When Sunstone Utilities apparently took over 22 small companies
Yeah,
just recently.
That's the parent company now, they're a big
Yeah.
operator in multiple states, I guess.
And South Coast was at the top of the list, you know, so that's all I know.
Okay, well, we can see what we can do from Dune City residents' perspective, and we'll get in touch with them.
And I can give you copies of these. I don't have them with me tonight, but I can give you copies of the letters that they sent out.
Okay.
And I'll get those to James.
Okay, very good. All right. And that's the only yellow card I have. Mrs. Jackson, you wanted to speak?
Over there.
Say again?
Want me to get them for you?
Oh, I'm sorry. I got you.
you.
Yeah, hand them to James. if
James
you don't
probably
mind.
isn't just used to the new system.
Thank you, Ms. Williams.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Okay. So Geneva, yours is on the ordinance.
It's on the ordinance, yes.
Okay,
It's
then we'll
something
wait.
that's in the ordinance.
We'll wait until we get to that. And then Jeannie.
Okay, well, now you can magically see me because she just left. You all know I'm Jeannie Jackson, and during our last council meeting, I shared with you my explanations, my view of the registered letter I received from Lila after the May 20th council meeting. But I have yet to really receive an explanation from you. Now, a lot of you told me you didn't even know about it. And so I feel very bad about that. But when I attempted to talk to Lila before she left town the first time, and I actually talked to her on June 1st. That's when I finally received the letter. I had to go sign for it at the post office. And I wanted to talk to her about it. because I said, this is very vague. Can you explain to me what you mean by I was aggressive or out of order? And she wouldn't do that. And she said, you know, and she seemed to get very angry with me. And when I said, I can't believe you're holding the last meeting against me, I said, because you and the mayor, we had already discussed that, and I thought that was over with and decided. We were not the ones at fault. We were treated very badly by the Planning Commission, and they not only did they treat us badly, but after the fact, they lied and said it was I who was using a profanity. I have never sworn in a public building or at a meeting, nor would I ever, you know. That is ridiculous. And I respect you all too much to speak that way. And so that was very upsetting to me, but then she got very angry with me and started calling me a liar. And sadly, the last 2 times I got to talk to Lila, maybe she was overwhelmed by the job and the move and everything she was doing, but she got very angry and left the building, left the room in both her office and out here. And about that time, James had been, you know, you had already decided to choose James. He hadn't been sworn in yet. He wasn't yet the acting city administrator. So I met with her. But about that time, he came out of the lunchroom where he was trying to have a quiet lunch, and he walked through, and I said, oh, we could have used you a minute ago, because I understand he's expert in, you know, arbitrations and, you know, dealing with a difficult conversation. But suffice to say, Lila basically told me, and I said, well, why did you do this? I said, I'm starting to feel you have it out for me. And she said, that is ridiculous. That is a lie. And she said, I did it because I was told, they told me to do it. So I would like to know who's the they. We know it wasn't most of you, since most of you didn't even see the registered letter till last meeting. So I assume maybe you know something about it, Mayor McGuire, and maybe 1 or 2 of the councilors wanted this letter sent, but she said she was told to send it, and that's why she sent it, was her explanation.
Okay, well, the rest of the council may or may not know any of these details. None of us saw the letter. This came from staff. And I think this would be best handled offline. This is not an agenda item, and it's not for a vote of the council. And maybe we could follow up with you outside of a council meeting.
Yeah,
And I'll try to get the rest of the information.
but does the information I sent you about our interactions during the Planning Commission episode a year and a half ago, does that bring it back to you? And in fact, you and Lila had both personally told me that you felt bad about what happened to me and were apologizing on behalf of Dune City, and that of course my husband and I were welcome to come to meetings. And then it's as if the better angels lost, and now I'm in big trouble. That's strike 1, 20th was strike 2, and you're telling me now if I ever say anything that displeases any of you, I'm never allowed to come here, which will be a problem, because you probably know by now I am running for a council seat on the council.
Okay,
So, okay, thank you.
thank you. Anyone else that's got something to talk about that's not on the agenda? If not, we'll go on to new business, 7A. There is a memo in your packet and the application. Anything you want to say about that, James, or we do have a question?
Okay, I can just reiterate what I said in the memo is that what I took away from the last meeting was that there were concerns about permits being issued prior to all the steps having been completed. So the new application form and then also a renewal form have been modified so that there are drop downs that have to be satisfied before we can issue the permit. And that is going off of the ordinance that y'all wrote to make sure that there's video cameras and that notification has gone to the neighbors and DEQ and all of that. And then ultimately it would be issued by the city administrator. So
Okay.
more of a checks and balances and make sure everything is being followed.
Okay, and a question with the drop down. So when you get to HOA oversight, so if you select yes, then you attach your CCNRs, or does anyone with CCNRs attach CCNRs? This came up from the very first permit discussion that the previous staff, a couple of planners ago, collected some CCNRs to see what the typical said, and got a legal opinion that cities don't enforce CCNRs, the HOA would enforce CCNRs. So do we still collect CCNRs if they don't have an HOA? Or
Because
only-
the ordinance requires that if they have an HOA, we collect it. If they don't have an HOA, there's nothing probably to
Okay.
collect, right?
Well, we do have, I mean, the one we hear from about on Russell Road, they have CCNRs for that.
But it's not an HOA?
No, there's no HOA, so they don't have an internal, president or enforcement or their own.
I have to clarify that with the
Okay.
ordinance to see if it's either or.
Okay, and we may have to visit that in the ordinance, because that came up 4 years ago, I guess, in review. And it would really fall, and I'm familiar with, if you have an HOA, then you make sure that it's allowed. Sometimes you gotta get a letter from the HOA or the management company or whatever, a notice. So if you don't have an HOA, I presume that's silent, that we don't participate in that, but that was my question.
So my question would be, does this satisfy the concerns that the council had, or are there other steps that need to be done?
I just have a couple of questions. So, there's been a few examples where neighbors were not notified. So when you're saying that this form, which I really like, by the way, is going to be used to make sure that we fill all these boxes.
Mhm.
So you, as our city manager, wouldn't approve an STR permit until we have the DEQ certification,
Correct.
until we have notice to all the neighbors, all those sorts of things. And, in particular, I think it will be incumbent on the council to do what the citizens expected when they sent their CCNRs in, that they would be enforced, not by us, but that a permit wouldn't be issued when the CCR prohibits an STR. That's work to be done. And it's too bad, it's unfortunate actually, that there's this difference between an HOA with CCNRs and a neighborhood that was created with CCNRs but doesn't have an HOA. And I can't decide which is worse or better. I've never been a fan of HOAs myself, but I think CCNRs, sometimes when you have a neighborhood, you might have homes built on a hill, for example, and the CCNRs could be, you can't build more than 2 stories and block a neighbor's view, that sort of thing. And so the neighbors agreed to that when they bought those properties or set it up in the first place, and they didn't imagine that the local municipality would, for example, issue a building permit that would go against that. So I think in the same way, if the language isn't strong enough in our ordinance, we need to make it so, because people assume, if you're asking me for my CCNRs and it says that we can't have a short-term rental or a business in our neighborhood, that you're not just asking for it for no particular reason. There's no, if we're not going to enforce CCNRs, why ask for them in the first place? If we don't care, why would we ask for them? But when you ask for them, there's a presumption that you do care and that you would do something about it. Although I don't think the city wants to have any role in enforcing CCNRs, we certainly could say, okay, until you folks resolve this in your neighborhood, we're not going to issue an STR and get in the middle of this sort of thing. So, but I really do like the form. So my assumption is that we won't have any new STRs approved until everybody jumps through all these different hoops.
That's correct.
All right, very good.
Excuse me, Mayor, I'd like to have a copy of it, I don't have that.
Oh,
All I have is the memorandum.
oh,
We probably ran out of paper.
Oh, here we go. I got one, Melissa, I've got one in my email here.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'd like to kind of comment on what Larry was saying, Councilor Farnsworth was me. Is there going to be something that is going to be as a proof from that HOA CCR to say that they have agreed to some type of short-term rental if it's to be? I know we can't enforce the CCR or the HOA, but maybe perhaps a blessing before that comes to be issued?
If that's the direction the council wants to go. I don't know that it specifies in the ordinance that, but
yeah, I don't recall either. That's
I'll have
how
to
we,
research that and we can come back in 2 weeks and.
I'm with Larry. I think we need clarity in our ordinance.
Right.
We took a lot of public comment, and I think there's a couple things that we, this is a learning process. We have first whack at our ordinance and then one set of revisions, and there's certainly places to fine tune.
And they seem to pump out without notice to a lot of people.
And was that your, did you have another question?
No,
I have
thank
a
you.
related, about the notice. So when we went through the fee part, the $500, we were going to send notice. So are those coming from the city or are they coming from the applicant?
It's under the city, so the city has to. do it.
Okay, because that was one that applicant would say, oh yeah, I sent notices, and then somebody would always say, I didn't get anything. And so, okay, so we were
That's
gonna
why
use the
they've
county's
been
mailing
being
list.
hand-delivered.
Okay. And how big a circle? Is it 500 feet?
300 feet.
300, okay. All right, perfect, because I think the first round it was 100 feet, and sometimes that's only one house, two directions, you know, with big lots, so didn't notify very many people. Thank you. Duke, any questions?
No, good.
Anything else, Chris?
No, form looks good.
All right. That will, let's see, this is just information, right? We don't,
Yes, sir.
no action, all right.
Correct.
7B,
This is to touch on the matter of the city charter that Geneva, I believe, had brought up about whether or not the mayor is authorized to supervise or assign the city administrator tasks. I went to our attorney with Elcock, who said that if the city voted to hire me, that they have done what they're required to do in the charter, which is to appoint officers, and that if the city approved the contract, which says I would report to the mayor, that the council thereby gave that ability to the mayor to do that. You've advocated some control into that and gave it to the mayor, but it's still ultimately the city council's purview, if that makes sense.
everybody good with that?
Good.
All right, thank you. That will take us to 8, back to the public hearing for chapter 155, the land use code continued. Short script.
And I'd like to read my letter, because I don't know.
Let me reopen the hearing.
Pardon?
Let me reopen the hearing before you comment. All right, it's July 1st, 2026. Land use file PAPA 25-01 is a type 4 legislative amendment to chapter 155 of the Dune City Development Code. If approved, the amendments will be adopted via ordinance 275. The Planning Commission recommended approval and adoption of the amendments with revisions as noted. The City Council is reconvening the public hearing tonight to continue the hearing from the June 17th, 2026 meeting. The hearing is now open and oral and written comments will be accepted. And we have one speaker card from Geneva Jackson. Go ahead, Geneva.
Okay, I've written this in the form of a letter. Dear Dune City Council, I'm writing regarding the city's current public meeting legislation as captured in Chapter 155 and its failure to adhere to Oregon public meeting law. I've shared my concerns in the past. The city's attorney has as well. Check the tape of August 2023's City Council meeting. The last time I mentioned the city's non-compliance with public meeting law was during my testimony at the February 2026 Planning Commission public hearing for the proposed Ordinance 275. My concerns were not included in the list of community feedback compiled by the Planning Commission and to my knowledge not shared with the council. Here are my concerns regarding the current code. 155.4.1 2C. As written, 2C states that disruptive conduct such as applause, cheering, or a display of signs shall be cause for expulsion of a person or persons from the hearing, termination, continuation of the meeting, or other appropriate action by the presiding officer. This is a violation of Oregon Public Meeting Law as captured in the Oregon Municipal Handbook. The handbook indicates that while generally speaking, a city may adopt meeting rules and a violation of these rules can be grounds for expulsion, care must be taken to protect the freedom of speech under the First Amendment and Article 1, Section of the Oregon Constitution. Later it states, speech is a protected right that can be enjoyed not only through actual speech, but also through expressing conduct, such as making a gesture, wearing certain clothing, or performing a symbolic act. Further research indicates that under Oregon Public Meeting Law, those attending and participating in public meetings have a right to express their opinions through cheering, clapping, signs, or other forms of support, as long as it does not interfere with the meeting's order. The council is currently revising Chapter 155. This is a perfect time to rework 155.4.1(2)(c) and assure its compliance with state and federal law. I encourage the council to do so.
So will you read that citation again, 155.4?
155.4.1(2)(c).
2C.
Could you repeat that, 155.4.1?
1(2)(c). It's 155.4.1, and then there is an A, a B, and then a C. This is 2C.
I have 2C struck out.
Yeah, we have 155.4.1.2C. The 2 was proposed to be changed to 110. It was renumbered, I believe, if I'm in the right spot, which is the decision-making procedure for application and review, if I'm in the right spot, because that has the type 1 decision, type 2, type 3, type 4.
Yeah.
And but I don't see those words about in the meeting. I don't know if I'm in the right.
I don't have a 2C. I do have the 110, but I don't see any of that.
Yeah, 110 is the proposed
Right, but I don't see.
renumbering, right?
2C doesn't appear to be in here or struck out, so I don't know where it would be.
Do you have a page number by any chance?
Yeah, I don't know if unfortunately, I don't know whether I brought that with me, because I used it to write this with, but I didn't want to take it out of the, I didn't want to take it out of the packet. And hopefully it's not sitting on your kitchen counter. Try page 148 about.
148?
Yeah. That sounds right.
Yeah, there's a,
I got 147. Yeah.
It's under conduct of quasi-judicial public hearings, paragraph D.
Yeah, I have that. And it's D, and then 1C talks about the disruptive conduct such as applause. Thank you for coming.
Gotcha.
well, we might get that far this evening, or maybe not.
You are optimistic. So, yeah, when we get to that, I mean, we're gonna have this conversation when we get closer, when we get into the types of meetings and adjustments, but
That's right.
this can also be considered the rules of the meeting. So if you have it in here, then it means you don't do that at that meeting, which is also allowed, right?
Yeah, I can see that. However, I did some research, and the scenario regarding signs is very important, because the cities can have some contact some ability to control signs, but all they can do is control the sign of it. I'm suggesting that you do your research so that if you do have to change this, it's right.
So this is specific to signs in a meeting,
Yes,
right?
yeah, if someone comes in and brings a sign.
Okay. All right, so would you make a note, because we're a lot of pages from there at this point?
Yep. Yes, sir.
And yeah, we didn't have any proposal to strike that or modify it from the planning commission. So I'm gonna put a star next to mine.
And is your letter available to us?
I can send it, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, that would be helpful. Okay. Any other comments on the ordinance from anybody else before we jump back to where we were? So when we finished last meeting, we were on approximately page 64, 64 to 65, I think, depending which print you have, which is 155. 155.2.3.
I think we were 2A and 2B.
Yes. Dot 110 to A and B, I believe you're right. And we also have a memo on this from Rapunzel, resident and planning commission member, about what the state, the definition for gangway, which is way back on page 13, and then how docks are measured. There was a question about, did we have to have a size, and it would appear based on your memo that DSL may not issue an authorization unless it's in compliance with the local comprehensive planning requirements. So I guess,
Well, continuing the conversation, you know, the blue language here proposes not exceeding 144 square feet.
yes,
Yet all of our examples are for 200-foot docks. You know,
well, that was the state's example.
I understand, but I'm not a fan, generally speaking, of creating a statute here that is a building block by a state agency to put restrictions on our residents. I don't like to create the foundation upon which they come back and restrict what our citizens can do. So I would rather not have any restriction on the size of the dock. I don't want the state to come back and say, well, we're going to follow, and these are, it says residential guidelines. These are not rules or laws or restrictions, they're just guidelines. So, you know, most people are not going to build, you know, the Santa Monica Pier. You know, people are going to build the dock that they need. They're expensive. And there's professional dock companies that assist people with that. So I'm not sure we need any kind of restriction on the size. I certainly don't want to hand ODFW a cudgel to use on our own citizens.
Do you have a comment, Rapunzel, on that? I mean, I'm just reading the note, and the last bullet is, by law, DSL may not issue an authorization for a structure if it's not in compliance with local. So if we don't have a number at all, would they process that as there is no size limit, or do we have to state a size to
You
get
know,
them
if you
to
don't have
process?
any kind of a limit, I don't know what would happen.
Okay, I don't
It would
either.
sound like you, I don't know how they would
Okay.
interpret that.
Well, we don't have a limit right now, do we?
Yes, we do.
Well, 640 feet, that's boarding floats and boathouses. Is there a restriction on the size of the dock?
So, just back up 1 second, if I may. So when we ended the meeting last time, there was a question about whether or not the gangway was included as part of the area
The
of
total
the
square
dock.
footage, right.
And so it's a tiny wordsmithing change to alter the definition that currently exists. It makes it a tiny bit clearer what a gangway is, and then my memo points out also that DSL does not count the gangway as part of the dock area square footage.
And thank you for that. That's very good information. But I'm still looking at the example and thinking, it was proposed that we not exceed the dock itself, not the gangway, the 144 square feet, and all the examples show 10 by 20 size docks, not counting the gangway. And I'm thinking, well, I still take a very dim view of giving other government agencies, we're in the same kind of pickle with fish filters.
Yeah, fishermen. Yeah.
Same kind of pickle, you know. I just don't want their involvement here at all.
Well, that one's a similar pickle, because they actually dictated that as a permit requirement and a permit revision. We didn't propose it, but they added it.
Right, but I don't want to hand ODFW any more rights over the citizens of Dune City through the front door or the back door. I just don't want to do that. I hope
So
everybody
you're not,
else agrees.
you would not be handing ODFW any kind of authority. They don't manage the.
No, I know that,
docks.
but the
But
point
this,
is.
these recommendations were made by ODFW in conjunction with consultants and DSL for environmental and shoreline protection areas.
And I honor that. I honor that, absolutely. But still, I think it's a bad idea to give ODFW their requested dock area here and have them turn around and say, okay, well, we can't approve it because you're at you're under 180 feet or 200 or 250. I don't want ODFW to have anything to do backwards on our citizens. I just don't want to see that. I've seen it before in other jurisdictions where different government agencies get in cahoots with each other and you're stuck in the middle as the citizen. You know, both parties are pointing at the other saying, well, they said this, but you said this, and they're stuck in the middle. So, anyway.
Well, maybe we can put that in the parking lot for a minute and have staff reach out to Department of State Lands and say, if I don't have a number in the code, how do you process an application where it says
Well,
that?
We don't have a number in the code now. Are they
Yes, we do.
processing?
Yeah, we do, it says
Yes, we do.
640
40 feet,
square feet.
okay, so if we keep 6
But
foot.
it included boathouses, which they won't permit
Yeah.
anymore, is my
Okay,
understanding.
well, I mean, if we,
And they still do permit boathouses.
Oh, they will?
If the jurisdiction allows them, yes.
okay, so I think we stay with what we got. 640.
And leave the boathouse in there?
Yeah.
Because, yeah, all the red language is what we have currently in the code. And it allows a one-story.
DSL still allows boathouses. The planning commission was recommended that the city not, in order to come down to smaller dock sizes,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
The factor is here, though, if someone wants a larger dock, they're gonna go and apply for a larger dock, they're more likely gonna get it. It comes down to the cost of money. If you have the money, you're gonna get the dock that you want. Even if we limit the size of the dock, is there a likelihood that it would be overturned and make it that dock?
Well, I think if we just leave the old language, you got a lot more square feet to work with, and it includes boathouses where desired.
The thing I'm concerned about is, if there is a desire by the council to put what we would call ecological considerations into this matter, that would be something for us to decide. If we want to make something greener, or if we want to do something about shoreline preservation, that sort of thing, that would be something for us to decide. I don't want to give that prerogative to a different government body. So I would prefer to see us just keep the language that's in here. And, you know, I don't think we've seen anybody egregiously build something that was a monstrosity on the lakes. I haven't seen it. You know, every property is a little different. Some have more wind exposure, some don't. Some have the long gangway, some don't. I haven't seen anybody build the Taj Mahal on a lake yet. So why regulate something that is not a problem to fix? So I would say let's just act on this and see how the council feels.
Do we have a limit to how many boathouses we can have on our lakes here?
I don't
Is
think
there
so.
one?
don't think,
I thought there was a stop on boathouses on Loading.
I don't know, I thought there was two
What was the question?
Is
boat
there a
houses.
limit to how many boathouses we can have on our lakes?
Boat houses?
Yeah,
You can't have any, oh, boat houses. There's not a limit from DSL.
so they would, any number would be reviewed and
It's-
potentially permitted.
They approve permits based on what the local jurisdiction allows.
Okay.
And is-
So-
So
Am I correct, there's no more two-story boathouses, right? Isn't that the case?
We were already limited to 16 feet in the old.
Right, right.
So I think in the way back, there were the
There were a couple.
potentially larger, yeah,
Yeah.
were way back when on Silkus,
Yeah.
people that lived there.
Yeah.
And yes, I don't think they'll let you build anything you can live in anymore, period, right, on any surface water.
No.
Okay. Chris, how do you feel about, we've got the blue language or the red language? The old,
Well, they're just enforcing our standards. Like,
pretty much.
yeah, like, we're not outsourcing our decision to them. We're telling them what our standards are and they're enforcing.
But if we had no standard, I guess, that was the question. We don't know what they would say if we had no.
Right, so
upper
there's
limit.
the case where we remove all standards and we don't know what's gonna happen, that's a question to be answered. Or we go to the current standard, which is pretty generous,
And just leave it alone.
hasn't been an issue.
Yeah.
And at least then we have a cap. Like, if we all agree that, what was it, like 600, like
640.
640, like, you shouldn't be building more than this.
Okay.
If that's what we're gonna say is our hard cap, that seems reasonable.
Okay.
And let me just add that this language that's got the red lines through it,
Yeah.
as you said, Mayor, it limits it to one story
Right.
already.
Our language did, yeah.
Yes, and a maximum of 16 feet vertically from deck to ridge line. So
Right.
I think that's perfect language. I think we should just keep it out.
Okay. Yeah, Susan, what do you think?
I have a question for Rapunzel. Is this only for the lakes or does this include the river?
It would include the river as well, although I think the river has a provision that docks have to be parallel to the river.
Right, I just think it's too large an area for the river.
Okay.
I'm not that familiar with the river. Do we have any big docks on the river?
There's a couple of old
old
boathouses there, yeah.
boathouses.
That's where there's a couple of
And there's a
livable.
problem because it's very narrow.
Yeah.
to get
And they
boats
do
through.
try to
It's
take
terrible.
it, there are people that do try to attempt to take boats up the river too.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, if you kayak down there, you can reach out and there's a couple
But if
places.
anybody
that's
wanted to
built
build anything, they gotta go through the state first before they even come to us, and they'll tell them yes or no.
On the
But the
river.
concern is also with the trees that are falling down,
Right,
it's
there's
further
a lot of
I was gonna
constricting
say,
the
it's
issue, the
constricted
overhang.
enough with the trees to have any more.
I mean, yeah, I was
Dogs
just
and
down there
stuff on
this
there.
last week and there's
It
a
would be
couple of
terrible.
spots that are even difficult to get through right now.
Yeah,
What if you kept the old language, but simply said no boathouses on the river?
I think my concern is the square footage, 640 square feet is way too big for the river.
Yeah, Susan, so the only language that our code currently says specific to the river is that any structure approved starting at Lake Boulevard Bridge
Yeah.
shall have its long dimension parallel to the shoreline
the next
in order to minimize.
Right, I understand that, but if we do 640 square feet, that's an awful long, and I think
It
that's
is.
too large for the river.
Would you be in favor of a smaller number for the river?
It's gotta be way smaller for the river, yeah.
What number would be good?
Is the river case by case? Because there's not a lot of room left.
There's not a lot of room left,
Where the
so
homes are?
I would say there'd be no more boat
There's a
houses
lot.
on the river.
I've been.
no more boathouses, but some of them now, you can only go 10, 12 feet because you're
Right, you're
butting
running
up
into a
against
neighbor.
somebody else.
Yeah,
It's almost,
you'd be the section that says a dock that serves 2 homes. You'd probably have to get with them and say, can we add 6 feet? Because there's not a lot of room left to build.
So, would there be a number size of a dock that would accommodate the free passage of whatever goes on the river? that would accommodate a dock. I don't know what that number is, I'm asking, I'm just guessing.
Sounds like you'd have to measure what the remaining space
That's what
is.
I think that's a case by case.
Because
You
it's
can come to the
restricted
city and you
so
say,
bad.
here's where I have real estate, because, you know, Pam, somebody's gonna have to go eyeball that and say, you've only got 14 feet of frontage to work with.
Yeah, I would say like you can't obstruct more than 10% or 15% of the width of the river. So if you have a ton of space, you can go further. If you're already bottlenecked and narrow, then you've got nothing to work with.
But then you're also dealing with the trees that might fall in the distant
Yeah.
future.
Yeah.
Right, and it could, I think, you know, we've got like a 20-foot dock and it's only 4 feet wide, and that's one of the longest docks on the river, and that's because we have multiple homes.
So
You
if,
can't have anything,
how wide do you think the river is on average?
In the stretch where there's docks, yeah, it varies a lot, but it's
I was gonna
probably,
say it varies, but 20 to 30 feet is,
20
I
to
mean,
30.
it gets really constricted.
So maybe
I think
what we
it's even
need
less
is,
than that.
if we
Boats
had,
go by and I can reach out and touch them.
well, how about if we added a
I
sentence
know
to
too.
like 2A, the part that's been struck out? You could add a sentence there that says, as it relates to rivers in the city, review with planning staff regarding free passage along the river is required, because you may not be able to build a dock given tree falls and.
but just, how about add an E? If we're gonna keep the red, add
Sure.
E and say, Silcoos River requires
Right.
staff review
That
prior
sounds good to
to.
me.
Because,
But
yeah,
I
it
think
is,
in
it's
order
so
to give the
variable.
staff
I'm just concerned
Something
putting out,
to-
somebody would put in something huge and.
Right.
what I perceive is what, different than what you perceive.
Yeah.
So there's gonna have to be some
Yeah, I would rather just
capability.
because, yeah, depending on where you are, it can be a really
Let's
difficult
just make
spot.
an E sentence there.
Okay, and so does everybody agree, Duke? Does that make sense? Leave the red, leave what we have, but add, Note for the river.
I think case by case,
yeah,
for
'cause
sure.
the river's a completely different animal than the rest of the shoreline.
And I do.
And
I
it's
think
only the Silcoos River, it's that couple hundred feet that's in the city. So it's not like it's 5,000 acres that we've got
Yeah.
chased down, it's just that
Yeah, well,
couple of
yeah,
blocks
you
long until that last little boat.
can't have anything on the other side of the bridge because
Right.
that's state park area.
Right, right, you leave the
It's
city
just to
limits.
the bridge.
Okay.
And dare I ask one more question?
Yeah,
What
you
happens?
came all this way.
Well, who's responsible if a dock sinks? Who, I mean, is that
The
person?
owner of the
The
dock.
owner.
They're responsible. So who enforces them removing the debris from underwater and getting it out of the river?
I would think the state would, but
Because we have one of those in Woking Lake that,
Oh, I know.
when you kayak up those little arms, you
Yeah.
We had
you see
during,
some stuff underwater, yeah.
we had one get loose on the river
Mhm.
and it ran into another dock and it knocked that one loose. And a bunch of us went out and pulled them out so it wouldn't keep going down and knocking the other docks out. But we just got a hold of the owner and the owner took care of it.
Oh, that's good.
It was,
it's the same thing on Woking.
All right, well, as a scuba diver, I've seen docks underwater.
Yeah.
I wondered why they weren't abated at the time. Now they're frozen to the bottom and never going anywhere.
Lack of enforcement.
Well, yeah, and the other part of this, every dock's supposed to have an address on it, and not all of them do.
Oh,
And they're supposed to be able to figure out, because we've had this before, somebody calls and goes, I took pictures when I was kayaking, I'm like, can we figure out who owns it? There's no numbers on it, we're not sure which property it's associated with. You know, you walk up the hill and you
The
don't know
one
if you're in
on
the right guy's backyard.
Woking?
Yeah,
Yeah, we know who owns it and the state's been out and looked at it
okay, you're
recently.
just upstream from the bridge?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, there's one with the boathouse half underwater.
Yeah, the guy that's back east. That's our problem.
That's all.
It shouldn't be a problem, though, it should be
It was out of town.
I know, but
taken care of.
that's why we got state lands to come out and take pictures of it, and they are going to notify him, and then they'll tell us what's what.
Can I get clarification on the language you want for
Yeah.
2E?
I wrote, Silcoos River docks shall be reviewed by staff prior to submittal. Because the stretch of the river in the city is so, is that enough words?
and I would just say to ensure flow of.
Well, it's flow and that there's even length enough to build something.
Right.
Right, you got to go.
That, yes, all the considerations.
Because that's, kayak trail is
Yes.
a big deal, and we have to keep it.
Yes, we do. Absolutely. So I was gonna say the free flow of fun, but also, you know, the consideration for trees and like you say, frontage where the dock is attached. All those considerations, I don't know how you put that in writing.
I don't even know if we do, or we just
Just review by
have
staff.
staff look and say, there's
There you go.
physically, there's not room for
But
anything
should
big
we
enough
not
for
give
both.
some guidance to our staff in order to what to approve and what to not approve? That's
Okay.
kind of setting the staff up for failure. We're not gonna do
You're right,
that.
okay, let's keep going.
So that's where I think we need to set like a minimum space, like you can't obstruct more than 80%.
Well,
Or,
it can't be more than one dock wide, right? So you couldn't build a dock next to your dock where you had room for a boat, and then
Couldn't be any shared
on the river,
docks,
you can't
no.
go parallel
Well,
and have,
they're parallel, and then the boats are on
they're out in the center of the river.
They're out in the
right?
center of the
So-
river, and so other things are going by. So in my section already, you could almost walk from one dock to the other, they're so close.
Yeah,
And then they have their boats on the outside of that, so you're taking it past the river already.
So I'd be afraid of saying 80% of the river.
Exactly.
I think you have to leave that to
it's
staff.
a single, yeah.
But
I
the
think you do,
idea is,
because
the idea is not to interfere with everyone's right to enjoyment there.
Yeah, but if we're not, in my opinion, if we're not putting some precedent down and giving them a guideline, we're gonna have more boats parked within the riverside, not to their dock, and there's not gonna be able to anything to enforce it.
Yeah.
All right, so Rapunzel, in this section, if somebody proposes a dock that meets all the other requirements, does that go to planning commission, or that's just a development code thing, you'd go right to permitting? You wouldn't have any other review if every other term was met, right?
The planning commission doesn't review the Lux application that goes to DSL.
Okay, so would it be easier to say new docks on the Syracuse River require either planning commission review or city
Yes.
council review?
I think that's a great idea.
Because it's an unusual,
Yes.
I
right?
think the planning commission's a good
The
idea.
same planning, so does that make sense? Just on the Syracuse
Is that
River,
all right
because it's
with
just
you?
that little
'Cause
short stretch.
You're on there a lot, so.
And that way it would get reviewed prior to, you'd have to show, I have this much frontage that I'm entitled to, and it'd be this wide, and the other bank's that far, and there's no overhang.
I think
no
what Susan's
snags.
saying is that we're already, in some cases, halfway across the river.
Right.
So we have to have planning commission go out there and look at it. So
Okay. So we'll just add that.
So can you repeat the statement?
Let's see.
New docks on the Syracuse River.
So I said reviewed by staff, we'll say by planning commission.
Is that okay, Rapunzel? Does that put too much stuff on you guys? No, but the planning commission would like to know what standards it's going to be using to review the application.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're gonna leave that to the planning commission.
Can't, that's again setting them up. for
I just don't know how you put a measurement on it. I'd
Well-
like to see a measurement of some kind, but I don't.
Can I ask in the audience, do you have an idea of what you would think a good measurement would be? Because you're out there all the time like we are.
I don't really have
You know what,
a number on
I don't think we
this.
have to solve the number. I think what we need to do is say, let's do another doodle, you know, like this, that's specific to the river, and say, here's typical cross-section, it's about this wide, and here's what it looks like, and then, so we won't have a number tonight, but we're not done tonight. I mean, unless you think we're gonna get through the next 100.
Well, I just don't think,
Okay.
I think the river is so windy and that
Right.
you can't decide where the tree is that's about to fall. I really think if the planning commission needs our advice and consent, they can bring it to council.
Yeah.
But I think we ought to give them the first stab at just going out there and saying, you know, this works or it doesn't work. They can decide that,
Okay.
you know. I mean, they're kayakers, they enjoy the river.
I'm comfortable with that too, because there's a lot to compare to. You know, everybody else has like yours, you know, 4 or 5 feet wide, it's parallel to the bank. And then someone comes in that's 10 feet wide, and they say, I want it to stick out 12 feet. It's like, absolutely not. No, it's too much.
And
It's
we
too
could
much.
give them a number and it would actually work against our goal. Because they
Right,
would say,
then you just
well,
design to the number.
council said you could do this number.
Right,
And
no
they're
matter
saying,
what.
"No, we don't think this works here at all."
Right, I
So
agree.
I
If you
would
say
s-
5 feet, it'll always be 5 feet.
Yeah, just leave it to the planning commission to figure out.
Okay. And maybe we can-
Buy everybody on the planning commission a kayak so they can go out there.
Well, and we can, we're not done tonight, so we can do a little more research, see if we can find a picture that's appropriate for docks. This isn't the only river that Oregon has docks on, so I'm sure we can find a detail somewhere. And some guidance,
It's the only one that's a major kayak trail for the area.
yeah. Yep, and we're gonna work on that ramp tomorrow.
Now, before we move on,
Yeah,
we're restoring 2A through D and adding E.
E,
And then the blue A and B are deleted or,
yes.
okay?
The new recommended language, we'll just go back to the old language with the addition for the river,
Okay.
I think. Does everybody agree with that? And then my E, I said Silk Cruise River Dock shall be reviewed by staff, change that to Silk Cruise River Dock shall be reviewed by planning commission prior to plan submittal. Because it would come to us for plan review, it also goes to the state. We do the inspections on the, the state waters within the city limits.
And do I put new dock construction or just dock construction?
I think it's new, right? Because if you have existing, you can do ongoing maintenance.
You can do maintenance as long as you don't expand it.
Doesn't get
If
bigger,
if you
right.
expand it, then it has to go to planning commission.
Yeah,
Any,
I would say that's for new or additions. Yeah, there you go, the new or expansion. Because expansion is not maintenance.
No.
Okay.
I have something on, going back to the docks on the lake.
Yep.
I agree with Larry. He didn't really say that these were too restrictive, but to me, I don't own property on any water. These look awful small to me for a home with a family and a boat and kayaks. To me, they look a little restrictive. The first thing that hit me on these is take me back to the septic for me and when we were talking about the marijuana grow stuff, we got ourselves painted into a huge corner. And I'm afraid if you sit down, say we go with this guideline here, and we say that's what we're gonna have, we'd do the same thing, because I'm sure there's, in the future, there may be somebody that would like a bigger dock than this, and we're gonna go, well, this is what it is, and this is all we can do. I like the size of having it up to 640, and I think these are just too restrictive and too small for me. And going back to what Larry was saying, you're giving ammunition to the government to dictate in Dune City or Mohegan, Silkus how big the dock can be. And I don't like giving them ammunition either, so I think leaving it up to what we have as far as size and then running each one on a basis of coming through planning and commit, and the council would be the way to go,
So
I think.
the only one right now that would go back to planning commission would be
Be
the river.
River, yeah.
And then lakes, if you physically have the frontage in the space.
I'm leaning towards just kind of, you can tweak it some, but I like the size that we have now,
All right,
so.
all right. Then we'll strike our new blue language, we'll just leave the red language. Nothing easy there, but leave it alone. That takes us to construction.
Well, hold on.
Okay.
You need to go back to page 64.
Yes.
At the top of the page, paragraph C, where we have boathouse proposed to be stricken. You're going to want to keep that,
The red language.
yes.
On 64.
Yeah,
Oh, it's my 63, I
Yeah,
got you.
263.
that's retained.
Where we took out boathouses up
Oh.
here. You have to add that back in.
Okay.
You got that, James?
Yes, sir.
I had that in my notes too.
so you're talking underneath B?
The page before, it was,
I know.
It's number C.
yeah, letter C.
This
Says
one,
one
when we
boathouse.
took out boathouses, now we have to add it back in because it's in this red language.
Correct.
I know what section.
Page
No, it's
before.
right at the-
It's the
above
beginning of
here.
the same
That's
section.
up here.
Lakes and shorelines, R1 zone,
Yeah, allowed uses.
A1C.
Anything else there before we move on? Construction, section 3A.
Okay, number 5.
I'm not there yet.
Okay, sorry.
Any comments on A? So you used to refer to the 1992 old standard, now we refer to the Oregon Structural Specialty Code. And then it lists all the items in B. Is that what you're talking about there, B5?
Yeah, 5, I'm not even sure how to read that sentence. It says, "The boat dock should not include any part that is covered or enclosed, such as but not limited to boathouses, sheds, fish cleaning stations, kayaks." What are we saying here? Are we saying it's okay to have a covered boathouse, shed, fish cleaning station, kayak, canoes, hot tubs, and benches?
No, we shall not, because in the proposed revision, we took out the boathouses.
Right, but if we're putting boathouses back in,
Yeah, probably.
should we just eliminate this number 5?
Probably.
If you're keeping old 2C, where it's talking about the height of any shoreline structure,
Yeah,
the only reason that you talk about height is if you've got a roof on something, right?
right.
So 5 no longer applies.
Even 6, question 6.
I think we still have to do
Well, but I don't know if they should, it's still ultimately gonna come down to the planning commission.
Well, that planning commission is just for docks on the river. If everything else is compliant, it would be
And then council.
building review for like the building permit and coordination with, is it Division of State Lands?
Sorry?
When you're getting like a dock permit, it's a building permit from the city for inspections, and then there's a Division of State Lands that authorizes you to go on the surface
You get
water.
a building permit from the city, I think for the shoreland portion, and then the waterway is from DSL.
Okay. So yeah, do we strike 5?
Yeah.
Okay. And then all that red text,
So I'm a little confused. We have, on the next text, we have C, "The design of all piers and gangway shall provide for," and I can't find any language.
Not till the bottom of the next page, and it doesn't make any sense to me.
No, it doesn't. That's why I'm missing it. It says, then it talks about dredging and
It says,
filling.
it turns it to D.
So that paragraph C was supposed to have been completely deleted.
Oh, okay. So we can scratch this out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then when you go to the next page down at the bottom, you have
Dredging and filling?
dredging and filling, and then on the next page, all materials used. Those should probably be a new 6 and 7 under,
So just renumbering.
Yeah.
Okay.
It looks right when there's giant space.
Yeah.
It's going that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I got you. So all that red was paragraph C that said the following are guidelines for materials, right, for handrails. So that's all stays stricken. It goes to dredging and filling. Okay.
How will that be numbered?
You could
6
already
and
do
7, maybe?
Well,
Well, you have C and then,
yeah, dredging is C, right? Is that the
Yeah.
correct letter?
yes,
what dredging and filling would be
C.
6,
She's,
new
wait,
6.
she's saying that's a new 6.
Just-
We left off at,
Oh, I got
Yeah,
you,
we
because we
were-
deleted 5, we were at 6, we just make it a number instead of a letter.
we had 3.
That's what I was
I
wondering.
got
I think she was just doing that. And do we do that with the rest of these letters then too? So we go from
you.
7
No,
to 8
5. This becomes-
before we get to 4, is that what she's?
That's fine.
Hold on a second.
So if we strike 5, that's 5, right?
Oh,
And then the next thing,
Is dredging.
because it went to B, but yeah, go to dredging and filling, it says C, make that 6. Because dredging and
Dredging is
fill is not a
6.
subsection of that.
And
And then, yeah,
materials?
oh yeah, you got the clean version, and then it'd be 6, 7, 8.
this would be
And then that goes on to the next.
7.
Okay, so we're
And
2
then high
digits
voltage
here.
goes
think
to
so.
8.
8, and then we'll go to 4. I think that's what they're looking at.
I think so, yeah, because 4 is not indented as far, that's a different section, that's
Right.
hard to follow.
So I was
With the
just making
markups.
sure we're just putting the numbers that for the rest of that. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That's all we're trying to make sure we're on the same page.
So we end at 7, and then you back up, it unindents, and then it's 4, access to structures and landings, right? Does that make sense, everybody?
After 8, this is 8.
This
So,
one's 8?
Because,
High voltage is 8.
yes, this is 6.
and then the high voltage section
Dredging
would
is
be
6.
number 8,
Yeah.
correct?
Materials is 7, high voltage is 8.
Okay. And then access to structures
But it starts over.
starts over, the next section. Access to structures and landings, okay.
Kind of clarification, and when you get that, so dredging and filling is 6 or 5?
6.
Okay.
6.
And who is 5?
The Dune City encourages landowners.
The
to
old
support
6, after we scratch
The old
5, that
6.
becomes 5.
Who's on second?
Yeah, that's
what I
was
Above the 5 we scratched was the boat dock should not include, correct?
Right,
Right.
so the one underneath it is 5 now.
Oh, I see what you're saying, okay.
Yeah.
This is what we're doing.
Yes.
Now, when we get down to page 67, where it says dredging and filling within the shoreline.
That's 6.
That's
6.
6. And it's in the parentheses 6. Okay, okay. I got you now.
We're like 3 or 4 indents deep.
And then the next
Yep.
page is 7 and 8.
Okay. Got it.
All
Thank you.
material used is 7, high voltage, 8,
Okay.
and then it's the next section. All those were subparts under 3,
Yes.
then we go to 4, access
Okay.
to structures and landings. All right.
Not to undo everything we just did, but the other guidelines and considerations are all shoulds. They're not required. The C, D, and E's were like, you will do these
They
things.
were shalls.
Well, they're not, yes, like all materials used in construction will or shall be approved. So we're kind of changing mid-indent, whether this is guidelines and considerations versus you will do these things. Guidelines and consideration is not shall.
Yeah, but I think seven's shall, and that's stuff that goes in the water, has to be DSL approved.
Yeah.
8 is going in the water, right?
8 is you will do these things. Electrical is just shall be manually motion controllable.
So you lost me there, Chris. 7 is a shall, 8 is a shall.
Yes, but all of these are guidelines and considerations, and they're just like should. These are
So-
mandatory,
Right.
so we shouldn't lump these under that section.
I agree.
So DSL basically governs all of the technical aspects of building the dock. So in this case, the information under guidelines and considerations is general information for the public so they know what to expect when they're looking to build their dock or submit their application. So they don't have to go back and forth between the city and DSL to get all the specs.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They can
Guidelines
look
and
here and it is a guideline.
Yeah, that makes sense. But we don't want to lump the things that follow that, which are not guidelines and considerations. They are very clear. You shall do these things in that section.
But isn't it all under construction? Or not?
Well, by removing the letters and making them numbers, we push them into
Oh, I see.
guidelines and considerations.
I see.
So they should stand apart as letters.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So what you're suggesting is that we change 6, 7, and 8 to different letters?
No, they already are
They
in
already
the new
are.
version.
Oh, they already are?
Yeah.
Okay.
But 7 and 8 then would be section C, not 7 and 8 anymore, because it's a shall.
There's these C, D, and E.
Yeah, like they are. They're right.
I don't
Okay,
Well,
feel
not
that.
numbered.
In the
They weren't lettered right though.
in the
They are
digital-
in the good
They're
version.
not here, so everyone else is reading the version that they're not.
It is that version, but you remove all the markups and you move
Yeah,
to
when
the
you
final
accept
version.
changes.
No, because this one that she did, that Rapunzel removed was a C. So that's no longer a C. So C would fall down to dredging and filling.
Mine dredging and filling, it says C.
Mine does not.
Okay,
Mine said C.
okay, so it depends which one you got, you're right.
James, use letters.
It will be, and
So,
Chris can provide the clear picture if you have a question after the meeting.
That sounds like a cop-out.
All right, where are we? Are we on 8 or whatever that is? High voltage, are we there yet?
We were good, yeah, I've got the same thing, Chris. Mine shows E on high voltage, so it is own, if you could say shall, it wouldn't confuse the previous issue.
Yeah.
And then we were to 4, so it was really just the letters changed, not the words changed, but, if that follows, I mean, if everyone follows that, then we're at 4, access to structures and landings. And we have a 4A about trying to make walkable slopes, basically. And this is all on private property, remember, these are not open to the public, these are associated with a point. And then if you have a short end, you'll have a landing. Anybody have any concerns with those? And then I think 5 gets into when it is maintenance and when it requires a permit. So when it becomes, I think the Army Corps calls it substantial maintenance, or, 75% of the value, it's not maintenance anymore. You're gonna pull a permit to make sure it meets current code, but if it's replacing a couple of boards, you just do it. FEMA uses the same number for, that's their substantial, for substantial damage or substantial renovation. Any comments in 5?
I don't understand C. What is that trying to tell us? I understand A, but I don't understand C.
So if there's an existing structure that doesn't comply with the ordinance, you would come in,
So if it's a 50% cost repair, then it needs an,
if it didn't comply, and it was 75% if it did comply. But most things, since we went back to the bigger square footage, almost, and it included boathouses, everything would comply. There wouldn't be anything that, but there'd be very few things, because there are some that predate the city on the river
okay?
and potentially on the shoreline. At least that's my take on it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's fine, yeah.
You good to go to 6? Any other comments on 5?
I don't really understand the value of paragraph D, but the building official shall verify the percentage value of any maintenance or repair prior to the issuance of a building permit. So if they're coming to us with a permit, that means they've already decided.
You're already doing it in A or C. You're saying it's 75% or 50% in A or C. D is,
Yeah, the person's already self-identified as they exceed the limit, so what are we going to verify? We're going to try to tell them they don't need a permit?
That'd be nice.
That'd be nice, right? Well, it doesn't hurt anything, but I don't see the value of it.
suppose there's a chance.
There's a chance, good news.
That's a good point. Do we even need D? With A, B, and C. Is there any value there?
It already says it's determined by the Dune City building official, so I say scratch it
Up
out.
above, I agree.
Take out D.
Okay, take out D. That's duplicative language.
Is the survey pin language what's required normally? Since I'm not a surveyor.
Not exactly. So, permanent steel pins imply some sort of monumentation or, rebar and a record of survey. And the state recommends that ODOT spells out this method for determining high water in your 50 foot, because they do it for all their maintenance kind of projects. And they say, you look at the flora and the fauna, and they use they recommend you use those little sprinkler flags, so that you're not pounding something permanent in, anywhere in the riparian, and you mark it before you start grading or any disturbance. So typically, if you're referencing it while you're building something, you would want something that you could then remove when the dock is done, because it doesn't have to be a surveyor that, when you read the state's method, it can be an architect, it can be an environmental technician. There's a number of people that can be considered an expert to do this. So that kind of is, it probably should say, permanent is probably the wrong word, because it's kind of a determination. Unlike, I'd say, a property line, where there's a hard line of demarcating ownership. This is where you believe that, where the shrubbery or the vegetation changed, and then you measure 50 feet back. So C makes more sense, that you would use like a small PVC pipe and leave that because it's associated with your dock.
Yeah, some of the docks on the river, you don't have 50 feet. That's what I was looking at.
Good.
Yeah,
If that's standard, that
it'd
really
be out in the
doesn't.
middle of the street, right?
Maybe across the river.
Well, going the other way, if you went inland
Well,
Some of
that's
those-
true, yeah, across the street.
over by the bridge,
At the
you'd be
parking
in
lot
the
for
road.
houses.
In C, I recommend that last sentence, it says no documents or deed filing, I would say no survey documents. 'Cause you don't want to imply you need a record of survey or something like that for a temporary plastic, or for a plastic marker for a dock. That's my suggestion from an engineering survey perspective.
So do we need B?
I think,
Because I'm not
I
sure
like
what it's
B
trying to say.
to figure out where that is. Well, it's, that 50 feet is the riparian
I know
zone,
that, I
right?
understand that, but
But yeah, I don't think it should be a permanent survey marker, I think it
I
should
think
be,
it's 69.
because if you're saying plastic, then that one talks about permanent steel markers. and
Right.
So there's,
and I think B should be lath or, the wood lath, or, those little wire flags. I don't know what the technical term is, where they mark sprinkler heads and that sort of thing, landscapers use them all the time. And that's what, I believe that's exactly what's in the little picture from the ODOT, how to, you have a little how-to guide. And they say prior to unloading equipment or disturbing anything, do that, mark it off and so that you're sensitive where the riparian habitat is.
So if a building official goes out there and it appears they've infringed on the 50 feet, what is the building official going to look for if there's no pins or flags?
Well, there'd have to be flat, there'd have to be something, but I don't know about permanent pins because it's not a survey monument and,
Right.
and because other people besides surveyors can do that determination. So something, but I'm with Susan, saying steel pins. I mean, for a survey, that's usually rebar or rebar with a cap. And if there's a cap, they're obligated to file a record of survey to really, from a survey perspective, locate an arbitrary point.
well, and 50 feet past the proposed building site could be in somebody else's property if you're on the river. And a minimum of 5 flags, 5 pins, that would be
That's a
more.
lot. No, you're right.
So that's why I was wondering, is this standard or what it was? Because I didn't,
Yeah.
I don't know what the standard for the surveyors.
Yeah, and B doesn't have to be, that determination is generally not a surveyor. In this section, we're still in the part for building docks, right? When it
Yes.
says building permit, we're still talking about docks, not houses in this case. This is located where the gangway,
That's why I said, if, you have a dock on the river, 50 feet, you could be 3 houses down because the frontage for that isn't that large.
So when it says this survey shall meet the same standards as a lot line, what? Lot line survey, lot line drawing, what? As a lot line process, I mean, I'm not sure what this means. The survey shall meet the same standards as a lot line, what? Change, survey?
I don't know, do you have any guidance there, Rapunzel?
Pardon me?
Do you have any guidance there, that second sentence? This survey, we're talking about figuring out where the ordinary high water mark and the riparian and where your gangway starts and your dock construction starts, and it says this survey shall meet the same standards as a lot line.
As a lot line survey?
Yeah, meaning parcel line or property corners and lot line, which does require a record of survey if you set those points and standard, if you're locating property corners, is it has to be done by a licensed surveyor and there's a record of survey if they set those points.
Yes.
And is that appropriate for locating ordinary high water mark and the limits of the riparian habitat, putting permanent survey markers?
So, in recent reading that I've been doing, I don't think you have to put a permanent pin in, but you do have to put pins, those 50, along the 50-foot riparian area.
Right.
And I'm not 100% sure, but I think some jurisdictions will allow your site map, basically, to be done by an individual if the high water mark is determined and signed off by a planning commissioner or a city official.
Yeah, it says
And
city
then it
official
doesn't-
or
and then it
environmental
doesn't-
consultant or architect, there's like
Yeah.
4 or 5 people listed, right? They can do
Usually
the
a city
determination.
official. And then there doesn't have to be an actual surveyor
Right,
to do the marking. If there's no way to determine the high water mark by the city official, then there has to be a survey.
but, I mean, the surveyors I know will not do the ordinary high watermark determination. They'll say, I want some environmental person to tell me, and then I can measure back 50.0 feet. Because it does say, and a permanent steel pin every 50 feet.
I don't think, they don't have to be permanent, I don't think.
Yeah, that is a
They
big
have to
effort.
stay as long as the project is.
Exactly. Normally it's lath and they would be remarked if something was damaged during construction or offset stakes or something.
You could say station flags or something, you don't have to have permanent steel, but I think
Yeah.
the survey shall meet the same standards as a lot line survey, and, you know, site flags or something needs to be in there. You know, some kind of
Yeah.
symbol. It's-
I don't like that language because lot line survey has accuracy requirements by state law.
So
And
let's take that out.
ordinary high water is not nearly so precise.
How about if we just said this survey?
Right, when you have a new final map, you'll have 2 decimal places out, your lot width and length. And ordinary high water and riparian is measuring from where the vegetation changes from panphoritic, I think it is, to whatever they call it, above the water.
So if we strike out, shall meet the same standards as a lot line survey, just strike that out.
Yep, and keep going, and no
then-
permanent steel pins.
Right, and then you could say, the station should be flagged or something, or marked.
Yeah,
It just,
with lath or flagging, something, right. That's easy, I mean, that's typical.
so the stations shall be flagged, or whatever,
Yeah.
flagged or marked.
Every 50 feet.
I don't think every 50 feet will work.
For a small lot?
For the river.
Right. And this says shoreline, and we probably need to have a B&1 that says on the river to do something different. Because right now, the river says you gotta consult with staff because the river's so unusual. And, I mean, it's not unusual to say, I have 200 feet of lake frontage and I'm gonna build a dock somewhere in the middle, and you got plenty of room.
But they
But on the
just
river,
can't
you don't
comply
have
with
that.
this, the every 50
Right,
feet.
right.
So I would say, if you change this to say, this survey, the stations will be flagged. You could say every 50 feet or 50 feet, if possible.
Or every 50 feet,
Practical or something.
or a minimum of 2, right? If you only have 40 feet of frontage, it'd be 2.
Right.
The left side and the right side, if you will. If you had 300 feet, then it would be the 50 feet.
Minimum of marking the edges.
Yes, so you'd be able to pull a string line between and go,
Right.
that's riparian.
I agree, I just, the
Okay.
language, you can't comply with this language.
Right.
And I'm not sure you need the 50 feet past the end of the building. Past the end of the property or building site? What are we talking about here?
It says building site.
That's a good question. Right, because that obligates you to go on the neighbor's property to mark something.
And I don't want, I want a minimum of then 2 pins, not 5.
Okay.
How about just a minimum, how about shall be flagged or marked as practical every 50 feet, minimum 2 pins. Good at that. And scratch out 50 feet past the end of the proposed building site.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes more sense. And change pins to something like flags or
Site flags, I thought was a
Flag
good
or
term.
marker?
marker, yeah,
Markers or whatever you want. Just so they know it.
okay.
So I got that part. Which part did you want to delete?
You're gonna delete shall meet the same standards as a lot line,
Right. And there was something on the end there.
2 pins. Oh, you're gonna scratch out and 50 feet past the end of the proposed building site.
Well, and permanent still pins with scratch out.
Right.
Yeah, that whole third line.
Right.
And then say minimum of 2 markers. Or flags, or whatever you want to put in there.
Just put 2 markers
Okay,
with the person.
because it could be whatever, right, whatever. Okay,
They're temporary.
And just jumping ahead, we have the same problem in D. With the same language. It's a permit for vegetation removal, but we should use the same language in B as we're using in D.
right, to identify it, yeah, I
Because
agree.
it's saying the same thing, same standards as a lot line and permanent steel pins. It needs to be flagged. And they're saying 3 pins, I think minimum 2 pins, right?
Yeah,
Does that make sense, James?
Yes, sir. And in B, are we keeping the survey documents shall be provided with the application language?
Yeah, I think they are. They should be, because it could be by an environmentalist, right? Or an aquatic person?
yes.
You gotta have something.
Yeah, as long as we're not implying you gotta record a survey, if you mean a site plan, right, like where Punkin said, somebody brings you, the architect or your environmental consultant brings you a site plan, yeah, picture or whatever, that makes sense. And then any comment on E?
What does that do for us?
E?
So I have a comment on E, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think there's an unfortunate word choice with the term boundary.
Okay,
It should be. It's the length of the shoreline.
So a variance procedure.
It's your frontage.
right,
Right, but
So boundary is just an unfortunate word.
so it says a variance procedure may, but why is the word may? And what, I mean, it may or may not, I don't understand.
we're getting better boundary, right?
Hold on a second, John. Maybe shall. So the way that I interpret that is if you have a long shoreline frontage,
Okay,
right? If you're planning to put your dock in, you don't have to survey or mark the entire,
gotcha, because you plan to only
if
work
you're only
in,
going to use a
30 feet or
small
whatever, 20
portion
feet.
of it.
okay.
Why would you need a variance for that?
Yeah, could we just say you've got to survey at least the proposed disturbed area plus 20 feet on each side or something? What would a contractor need, Mr. Contractor?
What's that?
If you were building a dock and a gangway, and somebody's got 200 feet of frontage on the lake, and they want a 6-foot walkway and dock. So if you said, well, we're only gonna disturb 8 feet, what's realistic? That 8 feet or that disturbed area plus 20 feet either side of it, just in
It'd
case?
probably be 8 feet and then 10 on each side, so you know what you're doing. And a lot of times when they're doing that high water mark and the 50-foot back, you know, they'll let a designer or an engineer go out there and he can mark it, and we do that all the time in the county.
Right.
I understand that, but why would you even need to bother with a variance?
Well, I think we would change that if we have some clear language like
10 feet on
proposed
either side,
disturbance
whatever.
plus 10 feet each way or something would be, because we already said it'd be a minimum of 2 flags, and that's totally visible if you're talking about a 30-foot
Yeah.
swath. You can see from one to the other.
Wasn't that already covered under D? Why do we even need E?
That's where I was trying to get, like, what situation? So it makes sense. You wouldn't do, if you had hundreds of feet of frontage, you don't have to survey at all, but I think B and D covered it. It was a minimum of 2 in that area you're working. Does that make sense to everybody?
Indeed, were we striking the standards of a lot line and permit
Yes.
similar?
Yeah, so it'd be similar, it'd be the
So
same language.
it was
as
the same as
Yeah,
B.
B, right? So then we can be silent on whether you're doing the whole frontage or not. If you're only just building the dock, then
You're just gonna start.
you're doing the determination for the dock. And it does say, I think C, if there's a separate project to remove vegetation or do something in a different spot, that gets its own survey. So if you're blessed with 200 feet of frontage, you might have two spots marked out. Does that make sense?
Deleting E then?
Yes, it's E, right? Yeah, I think so. All right, that takes us to 155.2.3.120, lakes and shorelands in the CC zone. That section is just clarifying the jurisdiction. And then it takes out all the words after it. Any comments on the red, all the strikeouts? And that would take us to 155.2.3.130 Booth Island.
Is all of Booth Island in Dune City?
No,
No.
So then to.
most of it's in Douglas County.
Right, so when we say open space designation applies to all lots on Booth Island,
Within the city limits.
I think that's what it needs to say.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't like for most of Hideaway, because that's not a measurement or a clear identification. We could say within Dune City and lot number such and such. Now, the lot numbers are gonna change if there's any divisions, right, or remapping, because the sign over here that says we have 3 small lots for sale, I think you would have to acquire a couple of them. I don't know that you remap them, but they were too small by themselves. That's my understanding. I've never been there.
I'm uninformed here, I don't know what we're trying to accomplish here. Does the open space designation mean that somebody owns property there and they can't build on it? Is that what it means?
So our current code is a little lax, in my personal opinion, on what the meaning of open space is and what you can or cannot do with it. However, our maps designate certain areas within the city limits as open space. I'm not sure how that designation gets made. I think the county did it at one point. So almost all of Booth Island in Dune City's limits is open space, with the exception of Hideaway Island, except for 2 tiny slivers of Hideaway Island. And the lot number you see here is a privately owned lot that is not open space. So
So,
if you look at a map of Dune City, this actually becomes quite rare.
I understand, but who owns the open space?
Yeah.
Is any of
Is
it
it private
privately
The
owned?
person who owns the property, each lot is designated as open space, and the person who owns that lot has open space designated property.
Okay, so it says in B, all development on lots not designated as open space shall comply with the code. What about lots that are designated open space?
I think it's C2,
Okay,
allowed use, hiking, walking, or 2, residential use.
okay.
And I have the same questions as you, Larry. Because my understanding is Douglas County, you know, when you get to the county line on the island, they don't care. They have no restrictions, right?
In Douglas County,
Yeah, there's no open space designation, it's just private property,
I have no idea.
I believe.
That's what I heard.
So it's a bunch of private property and it's within the city limits, so the city has no direct access. You gotta have a boat to get there, you know, but you can live there or do inspections or visits, so.
Well, I just wondered, we have this section that's all blue, and then we have a section following that's all red.
Red, that was the old version, yeah.
So what changed? I mean, again, we have the same issue with, looks like we've got some things in here about dock size, we've got all kinds of things here. Why are we changing anything from the red language at all?
So the original language in red was a little more complicated about the unplatted and platted areas and the specific lots, because at the time, some of the lots hadn't been sold. The old language specified compliance with specific provisions in wetlands and riparian zones, and specific development code. Specified stick-built construction, as well as dock sizes. So this language was developed after meeting with some Booth Island property owners and reviewing the current maps to come up with some specific protections for Booth Island. And again, although the island is designated open space, and open space designation is meant to provide some sort of protections from over vegetation clearing, flooding, erosion control, that kind of thing. Our code doesn't, at this time, have any provisions to protect that. The open space designation is just there. Does that make sense? Yeah.
I think so.
Well, I've looked at it just first blush. I don't have any problem with the blue language except for Q. I would scratch Q completely. But the rest of it appears to be pretty innocuous. And I can see the clarification because you had all the assessor's map references
Right.
in the old
It was
one.
really specific to
Yeah,
the original, like,
just to stay
lot layout.
consistent on docks, I would just scratch Q.
And docks would be per the chapter on docks. And this is okay from the folks that own the developable lots on Booth Island? Because there's just a few lots left, right?
I think there are like two, the little tiny ones.
The tiny ones.
Yeah, the sign around the corner, it
Three, I
says
think
three.
three.
And they're little slivers, right? They were like 40 feet by,
Yeah, there are only a few very small lots. I
and
don't think that
to
the lots
stick build
that
a
you're
house,
referring to.
you probably need to buy all three of them to have
Correct,
a bigger footprint, right?
correct. And so the dock provisions here are separate because, back to your friends ODF&W, ODFW considers Booth Island's shorelands protected habitat. And so they, again, have, for Booth Island, in a letter specifically recommended these smaller dock sizes.
And once again, they're guidelines.
And our Booth Island owners okay with that?
Yes, all the docks are very small over there.
But that's not the question. The question is, do we want, again, give ODFW the right to write code that they're gonna come back and enforce? I would say, do we have those dock restrictions now? If we don't have those dock restrictions, then we should stay consistent with the decision we just made on docks on the lake. I just don't see any reason to have that language there.
The red language was 400 square feet.
Yeah, I think it used to be worse, I think. Because at one point, it said anybody that builds would use the same place to load and unload, and then that lot was sold. And the guy said, that's my lot now, you can't use it. You know, when it was a different owner, there was a single point of access, I think.
No, I'm okay with the 400. I'm just okay with the existing language. All docks should be no larger than 400 square feet with a maximum shoreline width of 20 feet. I just don't want ODFW in here at all.
Yeah.
If you want to move that particular paragraph, P, and put it over here. and
Gotcha.
Exchange it for Q.
P in the existing.
Yeah,
the red.
move P from the existing to Q and the new one. That would be fine.
Everybody like that?
Yep, I like it.
I have that.
Fine with me.
And then on the language for section A, can you just clarify that for me? The open space designation.
Okay, that was the one where we were gonna say applies to all lots on Booth Island within Dune City limits.
Okay. And lot 20,
Well, and then it says, except for most of the Hideaway Island addition. I don't even know what that means.
So there's a subdivision on Booth Island. It's called Hideaway Island Addition. There's a map.
Oh, that's the actual name of
It's an actual subdivision, and it's mapped. The little plots are all mapped. There's a little road that goes across the top.
But it's not open space. Right?
Two little tiny slivers at the very north end of Hideaway Addition are designated open space.
I see. So the language you've written here is accurate.
It's completely accurate.
Yeah, except for most of the Hideaway Island addition to Dune City and lot, I would say just, the only thing you need to add here is within Dune City limits.
Yeah.
And then you could scratch the last, well, the last sentence is already gone. An open space residential.
It's already scratched.
Yeah, it's already scratched, so that would be just within Dune City limits is all that's needed. Right?
So is this a public meeting? Could I make a comment on Booth? What I know about it?
Yeah, go ahead.
A number of people have, as Rapunzel can certainly attest to, and even the council, we've had lots of people come from Booth Island and talk. They're not happy that they're under the jurisdiction of Dune City, so you said, are they fine with it? No, they're not fine with it. And one guy who said he owns 49% of the island, he said, I just wish it was 50. And I do think it's crazy that part of it is another county's jurisdiction. I think the island would very much like to not be under the yoke of Dune City, so I'm not sure why we're making this decision. And I just know I've come to meetings for years, and so does Geneva, and I've heard these people talk, and, I think that the planning commission really bent over backwards to try to accommodate them, but really, they don't want to be accommodated, they don't want to be a part of Dune City, is what they really don't want.
Okay,
But they have to come here and talk, so I'm just saying, I have heard people who live there say that many times.
okay. So from a jurisdictional perspective, that ship sailed. I don't know how they were annexed into Dune City, but they are, and the line is the county line drawn by the county surveyor, and it goes right through the middle of the island. So the stuff on this side is in Lane County and the city of Dune City, and the stuff on the other is unincorporated Douglas County.
Oh, you don't have to answer me,
well, I
I'm
mean,
just answering
that's-
your question of, are they okay with it? No,
Yeah.
they're not okay with it.
Well, I don't mean, are they okay being in Dune City? I mean, they are. I mean, that's the legal reality. So are they okay with these revisions? And it sounds like the planning commission has had a conversation with them.
Yeah, you'd just as soon not be a part of Dune City.
But I don't believe that's a choice. That has nothing to do with this code. I don't know if there's an unannexation procedure in Oregon for an island or for such a project. Some states and counties have unannexation terms. I don't know if that's even an option for Booth Island. I don't know. Do we need to close that blind, or is it the door?
It's the door.
Okay.
I think we're,
I'm okay.
if the council agrees, we're covered in 155.4.
I think it's a good place to stop.
Yes.
We need to go backwards. I did review my notes on page 62 where we talk about the start of the open space overlay zone,
Okay.
155.2.3. Our numbering is off on the sections if I'm not mistaken. Lakes and shoreline CC zone in blue are marked 155.2.3.120. And on this section, it's labeled as 250.
You're right. Dot 2.3.250.
Unfortunately, I do myself bad in my own notes because the sections sent me down that rabbit hole.
No.
And what should it be? 200?
Well, the CC zone should be 155.2.3.120,
Okay.
which is before the other
No,
section.
she's backed up to Lakes and Shores.
So we need to recode that number. It shouldn't be 120. It should be 2 something, in my opinion. But then it
You're
throws
right.
every other section off, so there's the rabbit hole.
No, you're right, we'll have to look at the number, because, yeah, when you look at the sections up above, you got 100, 200, and I wrote the same thing, 110, and it's where it was 200.
Yeah, that's what my thing
Okay,
here
so-
said in that, like, where'd the
Does that
section
make sense?
go?
Yeah, just check all of them up to, because I'm with Larry, up to 155.2.4,
Right.
everything prior to that, because we had so many little adjustments, make sure the numbering makes sense.
That's gonna be formatting errors until you get to the end.
Yeah, and then, yes, Larry, I agree with you, 155.2.4, page 74 or 5, depending on what page you might have.
Fragile lands overlay.
Yeah, it's a good place to pause.
I'm going to schedule myself to the blue for the next meeting.
Don't say that, Karma can hide.
Did you get a blue shot?
No, it just doesn't
Okay.
do that section.
It's 7:56. We will close the public hearing for tonight and continue this on July 15th, July 15th
I can feel it coming on already.
at 6 p.m. And what's that? That will take us to item 9 for the good of the order. Duke, you go first.
Oh, boy, yeah. It's our 250th birthday. I think that's really special and really a big deal. And I hope that everybody goes out and celebrates and enjoys the accomplishment of keeping the country together for 250 years. But what I really want to say is, that being said, being our birthday and enjoying the celebration, I think afterwards, I think people need to wake up, pay attention to what's going on in this country, and I think there needs to be some house cleaning done. We have too many people in this country, I feel, that hate this country. We've let it happen, and it's becoming quite a cancer, I believe. And I think people need to really take a long, hard look at the results of elections in eastern state, and then yesterday in a central state in America. The outcome is pretty disappointing and, to me, scary. So, celebrate, enjoy America. Take a look and see how it's going to be in the next 250 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Melissa?
Nothing.
Susan?
I'll see everybody out there on the 4th.
Yes. I want to thank John. The newsletter went out today. We've got some Smokey the Bear signs, and then John and Igor both talked to the county maintenance about our home of the Dune City Triathlon. There hasn't been one in a few years, so they wouldn't do the Smokey the Bear because it's not a standard advisory or a warning sign, so they reprinted them and put Dune City, put them all back up and had misspelled the city's proper name. So those went back up, I think, yesterday, right? They redid them, came back on Tuesday. They're up, so I got a picture of them right after they finished yesterday, so we could get it in the newsletter. So John's been chasing those guys, and Igor's been in touch with them as well. So the maintenance guys are very cooperative, but when you ask to do something non-standard, the traffic engineer is 5 above. When we talk to him about speed limits and that sort of thing, he is, 100% by the book. But anyway, I appreciate the efforts, and we've put the Smokey the Bear on trees.
Just a little something,
Yes,
Just a
and
little reminder, that's all.
they are near the edge of the right-of-way, so we didn't ask anybody. This was a guerrilla effort, not a city effort. We just decided we were going to do this as residents, so they're on the edge of the right-of-way. So we didn't ask the county for permission, and we didn't go to any property owners. So most of the property owners said, I have a tree, put one right here, it's highly visible. So anyway, we got those distributed around town ahead of the 4th of July. I'm happy for a little rain, so it's not a super high risk where we are, but we're always sensitive to that, so thanks. Chris?
Last time we mentioned having a pass-through for city council, so we implemented that. So any emails that go to city.council@city.gov will come directly to, the sender will get a confirmation, and then we are all BCC'd on that confirmation.
Okay.
Great. So it comes directly to us.
All right.
Do we need any additional input in terms of replying to all or having a quorum via the email?
There shouldn't be.
We're just not gonna
We
respond.
can't reply at all.
We can't, okay, great, just wanted to make sure.
That's it.
That's
That's
a
a
good
question.
question. Yeah. No, I mean, you physically can or you shouldn't, right? Because
You shouldn't,
You
Well,
shouldn't, that's the
Right.
ethic behind it.
So if you get one of those and
if you want to get in trouble.
you feel like they're talking directly to you, what should you do? Contact James to say, someone needs to reply to them, I know what they're talking about.
I think counselors should be able to reply directly to the person emailing it, right?
No.
As long as it's one-on-one,
No, we're not allowed to.
Yeah, no, you could.
Yeah.
Then,
to them.
the serial meeting would be if all you guys were chiming in going, well, I would say this and you said that, now we're having a legal meeting. But you could reply to a constituent and say, come to the
As
next
long as he
meeting.
replies just to them.
Yeah.
I'm thinking someone copies
Yeah, so
everybody
does that
else.
work? If one of you replies just to the sender, it just goes to them, right?
Yeah.
Don't hit reply all.
We're BCC'd, so if you reply all, there's nobody else.
Oh, gotcha.
Excellent.
We don't, and the person who receives the confirmation doesn't see our email addresses, our personal email addresses.
And it's okay for us to call you, James, and find out if you've already responded.
Sure.
And we don't need to be 5 different responses, but I just check with you and see what's
Sure.
going on.
And related to the email, not to back up, but I was sensitive to the comment that, you might not be seeing everything, so I've been looking at all the emails, and mostly it's junk mail, it's like, does anybody at the city want to sign up for this class? So I forward those if we're verified, if James got them, I'll leave that to him. And then the bulk is like League of Cities, which you guys can all subscribe to. We're a member of the League of Cities. So some of you may get them, and, you know, there's newsletters. This week was a newsletter that, or email that said, you're not getting a newsletter because of 4th of July, but during the legislative session, I love them because they give you updates, but they give them to everybody. You know, it's on their website. It's not anything that's to just the mayor or just a council person. It's to whoever subscribes. So, you know, I was looking for anything, if it was unique or should be shared, and I haven't got anything in 2 weeks, but I'll keep a close eye. And Larry?
Two things. I didn't see a report from Igor. Do we have any new actionable complaints?
That would be at the one on the third week.
It's the once a month?
Yeah, this is just for the hearing for the most part.
What hearing?
The public hearing, this
The
meeting.
continuation.
I understand.
Yeah.
Have there been any STR complaints?
Oh, STR complaints? Yes, there have been,
Okay.
yes.
So will we become apprised of what those are?
Probably not,
Okay. So
because you would be the
I
appealing body.
understand. I understand. The second question I have is, a constituent asked me about the Little Wohink water system certification. The concern was expressed that their water system has never been certificated, and the developer's trying to hand it off, or leave, basically, and leave it in the hands of the HOA. And they apparently feel ill-equipped to take that through the process, so we wondered what enforcement mechanism the city might have to help them get their water system certificated.
I have that email over to council or to the attorney, and there needs to be more work done on that as to whether we can act on a bond or anything of that nature, or whether that would be a matter for the individuals or the HOA.
Okay, so in the context of planning, this is kind of the same thing we were talking about with STRs. You've got a form for approvals and that sort of thing. So before the city gives a blessing to a developer, you know, a certificate of completion or something like that, have we done that with that developer?
We have not done anything like that since I've been here.
Okay.
I
Well,
think so, yes. Larry, from 2 city administrators ago, I believe, that's my
okay, well,
understanding.
that's one of the vulnerabilities that we'd like you to address, so that we're not giving people a certificate of completion when their water system hasn't been fully completed. But I would suggest that we put whatever pressure we can on the developer not to walk away from, you know, crossing the T's and dotting the I's on their water system. That's part of the value that they bought.
Yeah,
you know.
and it's bigger than the water system. There's also some road right away.
Right.
And my understanding is we just can't get any more contact with him, is that correct?
I don't know who the developer is, but I think some of the property changed hands, and and they do have a letter that says you're substantially complete, and it's put us in an awkward spot, and it goes back a few years. So this came up with, there's parcels in the middle that aren't a part of the subdivision, and they're not connected to the water system, and then 2 of them got bills to connect to the water system for the whole system, and like, we already have our water, we're not connected to the system. So anyway, they came in to see Lila, and then there was a question about the right of way, and there's some missing pieces in the middle that goes public road to private road, back to public road, and it's a bit messy.
Well, the idea is that
Yeah.
we want to make sure that in all of these situations, we're more fastidious about making sure that we're not giving people early approvals when they haven't done everything they're supposed to do,
Yes.
and holding them responsible through, it might be years, obviously with a new subdivision like that, but somebody has to be bonded or insured or financially responsible so that the people are not just left holding a bag of nothing. So I'm sure it will affect resale values in that area if it's not addressed. Because any due diligence you do, what, the water system's not certified, well, it could be an issue. That's all I had.
Thank you. With that, I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Susan and Larry, all those in favor of adjourning? That's unanimous. Thank you. See you Saturday.
Saturday, what time is the meeting at the Paiute thing? Do you have a